right, welcome into dfsarmy's YouTube channel for another episode of Best Ball and Brews. Today we have special guest Matthew Betz on from the Fantasy Footballers. Matthew, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. Appreciate you having me on. Excited to draft this team with you and hopefully win $2 million. Easy game. But no, man, it's good. It's a great time of year. It's exciting. Everybody's in the best shape of their life. Everybody is ahead of schedule in their recovery off of surgery. And we got air quotes, real NFL games going on with preseason. But it's crazy, man. Yeah, the NFL season kicks off in, I think it's 23 days from today.
Yeah.
Which I feel like, I don't know about you, but every time you get to like mid to early August, you're like, okay, we still got a few weeks, like, no pressure. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, the NFL it's here. It's happening. So good time of year in the NFL calendar.
No doubt. It's funny. I was listening to Peter Overzet and Mike Leone yesterday, and they were talking about, I think it was those two, but essentially they were talking about like with how big best ball has gotten, we've never like had such a big like overreaction to like preseason games. We're talking about like, the first preseason game and everyone is like victory lapping their takes. And it's like, it's very small sample size. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. We still got a few weeks left.
Yeah. It's funny. I love all and I mean, don't get me wrong. There's probably a couple of nuggets that you can get each week in the preseason, but like 90% of it is not going to matter. But it's funny whenever running with the ones in preseason or what have you, it'll be like 8 snaps. It's like, okay, that doesn't really give us much information. So yeah, a lot of noise this time of year. And I think that if you're a savvy best ball drafter, that's one of the edges that I think still exists in best ball, is being able to try to filter all of this out and not feel like you're drinking out of a water hose or whatever, and figure out what is actually information and what is just noise, because there's a lot of that this time of year.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the best things, obviously, about, just being plugged in the entire season, the entire off season, really just following the free agency and the draft and, like the Coach Speak Index, they do a great job deciphering, what's real and what's not, reliability ratings when coaches speak, and then, reading camp reports and watching the preseason games and kind of having a whole body of work.
Totally.
But, by the way, I just want to shout out, we were talking about this a little bit on the stream beforehand, but, Fantasy Footballers, they obviously do DFS, and, we do a lot of DFS here, of course, at DFS Army. And it's funny because my process every week is I watch the games and then I kind of look at the stats from the prior week, player usage and all that. And then I look at the matchups and projections, and I kind of put together my list, and then I start looking around at the industry, what they're doing. And, Matthew and Kyle over at Fantasy Footballers, they're like one of the first podcasts I listen to. So excited to get them on, shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk best ball, of course, and we're going to do a live BBM draft. It's actually my first one. I've done a few of these over on DraftKings, but on Underdog is my first one. Matt, have you done how many of the BBMs have you done so far?
So usually every year, I've done less. It's a tough tournament, man. And I think this is one of the parts of best ball that isn't talked about nearly enough, because this is just, I wouldn't say just like DFS, but it's its own DFS version, where like in DFS, you have one slate, 1 week, if you're talking about the main slate, then you turn the page and you kind of look forward to the next week and you kind of change things. One slate is the entire season. And oftentimes in DFS, like on our show, we preach being accountable and like being truthful with yourself on bankroll management and understanding where your edge is and all those things. I was losing a lot of money in Best Ball Mania, if I'm being totally honest. And that's just the reality of what this tournament is. So I have, this season, actually, I've done a lot more of the mid to higher stake stuff, but smaller field, to try to like actually, realize your edge. Which, I mean, these BBMs are fun. Like I'll usually do anywhere in like the 10 to 20 range just to have a little skin in the game and hope for the best. But I full disclosure, I'm not a BBM maxer, and I'm okay saying that because the bankroll management issue was definitely there for me in previous seasons.
I couldn't agree more with that. We preach that a lot at DFS Army too. Like in a DFS slate, we're like, you want to play a lot of cash games. You want to play the 100-man contest. You want to play the multipliers. A small percentage of your overall bankroll should be in large field GPPs, and that's kind of what the BBM is, right? There's 600,000 entrants in this, and there's a lot of 150 maxers that are essentially best ball pros, the Herzigs and the Overzets of the world and Leones, and you can lose a lot of money fast. So we're going to have fun with this one. I've personally been doing a lot of the Eliminator. I know I'll do one of those if Matt wants to stick around. I know he's kind of got a busy schedule today, but have some fun with it. Only play what you're willing to lose as far as the BBM goes.
Yes, sir. Very true. But this one, we will win.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to have to split the money with Matt here because he's going to help me draft, and it would only be fair.
There we go. We'll get that in writing.
Yeah, for sure. So as we are waiting for this to be filled here, I did have, a couple questions, and I think we, kind of alluded to it a little bit, but, how do you see your drafts changing now that we're just a little over 3 weeks from the NFL season?
Yeah, I think this is the time, if you've been in, whether it's like Underdog's Best Ball Mania or the DraftKings Millie, like this is the time of year, I think, to get some exposure to two different kind of player sets, unique combinations in the early rounds, because for a lot of, May, June, July, there hasn't been major news shifting the first, 18, 19, 20 picks, something like that. So you'll see a lot of the same player combinations at the start of the draft. I think in these large field tournaments, getting unique combos is one thing that's pretty fun to do, and kind of a good way to get leverage on the field as far as different combinations. And then the other thing is, in the later rounds, the strategy for me early on in like May and June is we don't even know who's making the team as far as like these day 3 picks. We don't even know what the depth chart looks like for some teams. So I was more willing to take the boring, 3 tight end build and grab a guy that I know is going to contribute and be on the team and all those things and get routes. And now, we're starting to see kind of some fun, like round 18, if you're on DraftKings 1920, dart throws emerge, like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is kind of a popular guy. Like DJ Giddens, those kind of like rookie running backs, some of the rookie wide receivers, Keandre Lambert-Smith kind of had his run in the sun there until Keenan signed. But I'm more willing to like throw some darts this time of year as we get positive drumbeat and like consistency on this guy is making the team, which maybe you couldn't have said that about some of those fringe guys, 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. It's funny because that was one of the phrases I was going to, use, was a steady drumbeat. So often, you see all these guys and they may get hyped up, but before we actually start having training camp and, preseason games, like it could just be talk, it's just hopium. Right. And now it's like, okay, so you want to be able to get in on these guys like before their ADP starts to really jump up, so JCM was one of those guys I've been trying to draft. Well, he's still, I think, at a decent price.
Yeah, I love, we had a comment too, Sean Tucker. I love that call.
Yeah.
He's been a guy I've been trying to take a lot of, especially in round 18, 19, 20 over on DK. And only the Rachaad White thing here obviously is going to make this ADP change, but I think Tucker's an awesome target right now. He has not been drafted all summer. I mean, he's been drafted at times, of course, but he's not 100% rostered in this contest.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So we're about to come up on the clock here, and then we can continue this conversation. We're picking at the end. What do you think here? Like BTJ?
Yeah, I love Brian Thomas Jr. for sure. And then in round 2, so this is one of those things, like, I think Achane's a totally fine pick, but I assume that BTJ and Achane is popular.
Yeah.
I'm good with him, or if you want to go with like another wide receiver, that's cool too. I've been a little lower than consensus on Genty and Henry personally.
Okay. Well, we got Achane because I hesitated a little bit there. So to your point, I totally agree with you, but I was about to take Henry just because he fell, he's normally going around 7 or 8, but the fact that he was there at 12, I thought that might have been a little bit of a unique start, but I totally get that.
Is his ADP really that high?
What's that?
Is Henry's ADP really that high? 7?
Yeah, let's see here. 2-3. He went 2-3. Joe Moffin. Let's see where he took him. I think I clicked the wrong one. There it is. No, I actually got to go here.
See if I can pull it up too.
Oh, maybe not. ADP 14. So like I said, I've been doing a lot of eliminator drafts. So I think that's probably where my mind was, the discrepancy there, where he's been going like 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the BBM, that's obviously a different ADP.
Oh,
But
wow. Hampton, middle of the second.
yeah, I mean, he's just skyrocketing up boards. I feel like it's getting a little crazy for me. What are your thoughts on Hampton? Are you going to chase him up the boards or?
So it's tough because like there's a range of outcomes that exist where like even this is probably a fair price, but it's tough because you're competing with so many teams that have 4th round Hampton. I mean, early on, 5th round Hampton, right? And now you're paying 2nd round Hampton. Not that it can't work, obviously, but yeah, the Najee situation looks like there's no end in sight, no pun intended, unfortunately, on that one. But I mean, he's walking laps, or like that was the most recent report. Like we have football in 23 days. Like if you're walking laps currently as part of your rehab plan, like you're not going to play in week 1, and almost certainly could miss multiple weeks. So
that's crazy.
Maybe this is the fair price for Hampton. I don't know. When the Najee stuff started to become more real, I was just like hammering Hampton in the 4th round every single time. So I'm personally kind of cooling off. But if you haven't gotten your exposure yet, like be sure 3rd round, if he's there, that's your guy.
You know, and it's interesting you say that too, because obviously you have to remember the format you're playing in. Like the BBM, this starts in the spring and it doesn't fill right until the start of the season, and maybe not fill. Whereas like if you're drafting in, the brand new puppy, like, yeah, you can chase a guy up a board a little bit, but it's really hard to beat those teams that drafted Amari and Hampton in the 4th and 5th round in the BBN, who've been drafting for months. So point well taken.
Definitely different strategy component there, a little bit of game theory.
Yeah. All right. So we're coming back around here, and obviously we want to maybe look to get a little different, maybe go down the board a little bit here because, we got a pretty a chalk start more or less with Brian Thomas Jr. and Devin H. on. So what are your thoughts here, picking back to back?
Yeah. So obviously at the turn we can kind of do whatever we want. I'm hesitant on the Rams guys. So like even if Devontae falls here,
same.
The Stafford situation kind of scares me. So I'm honestly good to kind of go any direction. I think getting a wide receiver here is pretty important, given that the talent dries up kind of quick. I don't mind JSN. I'm totally cool with Worthy as well. If you want to go for a Chiefs build,
let's do it.
All right, so we got Worthy and BTJ, and then you take the next pick here. I'm good with double tap wide receiver. Pickens is a fun start.
Let's
like Evans is fine.
I'm take JSN right there, just because I just think the volume that JSN is going to get this year is going to be crazy. I know, Horton's been getting some steam and whatnot, but I really feel like it's a breakout for him. And, I don't want to hesitate again there and miss out on Pickens, which was likely to be the case in an auto draft. So I'm good with JSN there. Honestly, the Chiefs are one of the teams that I have been wanting to stack this year that I just haven't gotten enough of. I feel like, especially with Rashee Rice suspension, getting Mahomes, getting Worthy, and then, there's some guys late that you can obviously target. I think they're actually one of the teams, when you look at it, they're projected for the 4th most points, but none of their guys are really going like early. Worthy's obviously the earliest, but you can get Pacheco late. You can get Royals like Hollywood Brown late. Who knows if Hollywood Brown's ever actually going to be healthy again? But I'm definitely down with that.
I'm with you. Yeah, I think, and the Chiefs are tough because we've kind of done this for 2 years in a row, where it's like we've kind of chased what Mahomes was a few years ago. And last year, I kind of had this take too. I was like, okay, if you just look at their moves, like, they tried to limit Kelsey's snaps a little bit. And, they had drafted, obviously, one of the fastest wide receivers of all time, and Xavier Worthy. They signed Hollywood Brown. They clearly are making like an effort to bring back the explosive element in the pass game. And I still feel like that's what they want to do. Now, will they be able to? I'm not sure. With the Hollywood injury and all those sort of things. But if the offensive line play can improve and give Mahomes some time to do that, deep down, I think that's what they want to do. So I don't mind building that narrative and trying to take some shots here, and that makes sense. And then as far as the JSN pick, there's also an element here of ADP value. Very important for advance rate, really helpful for building strong teams. We got JSN as a 4th-round pick. He's been a 3rd-round pick, all summer. So totally fine to get that ADP value too.
Absolutely. And then if you need a late stack, you can obviously stack him up with Darnold, who's going about I think 170. Yeah, 179, 180. So in the 180 range, that's a guy that you can get pretty late. So I like that. Real quick, shout out Razzle here. Beer number 6. Okay. All right, must be your day off. It's best ball and brews. I have one. I got to keep with the brand. Got to keep tradition a little bit. So
I totally dropped the ball. I did not get a brew.
I mean, cold brews are acceptable too, right?
Okay, good.
I drink cold brew coffee in the summer. That's my thing.
There you go.
All right. So we're coming up here, back-to-back picks again. Who do you like here?
Yeah, at this spot, I don't mind. I'm not a huge Chuba guy, but again, we get some nice ADP value.
Yep.
RB2 spot, week 17 correlation with JSN. So I'm fine with Chuba here to start to build up that game stack. And then wide receiver, I mean, I don't want to always just keep clicking the guys at the top of the list, but Zay Flowers here in the 60s feels solid to me.
I'm with that. And my thing about Zay Flowers is I don't understand his ADP this summer because I was hammering him early and then I had so much of him that I kind of backed off and I'm like, okay, I need to, kind of spread it around a little bit. I'm not comfortable with his exposure. And then now I'm just kind of going back to him and I'm like, he's good. And I think people forget that because he got hurt, at the end of the season last year. But I mean, he's attached to one of the best offenses in football is the primary pass catcher in wide receiver core. So,
yeah. And I mean, who knows how long likely will be out. I know that initially the report was like, oh, it could be ready for week 1. It's like, you're not going to miss the entire training camp and then play normal snaps, 5.5 weeks later. And there's a chance that this could linger a few weeks too. So you kind of get a little bit of a boost in terms of target share projection for Zay Flowers. So yeah, I think there's a certain point like last year when the wide receiver craze was going on Underdog, where he would go early 4th round. It's like, what kind of, how can he pay that off? But not if you're getting in the 6th.
Right.
Totally cool with that, especially if he's your 3rd or 4th guy.
Most definitely. Maybe you can answer this question. Craziest build you've done in an effort to be unique?
I don't do a lot of weird, 4 tight end, 4 quarterback, 3 running back. I don't do a lot of that stuff just because it's such a thin needle to thread on those types of builds. I would say DraftKings specific, a lot of people are doing 3-6-8-3, just kind of on repeat. Right. So I'm not trying to avoid it actively, but I am trying to lean into more true 0 RB type builds sometimes, especially over on a PPR site like DraftKings, where, reactionary ADP from last year says we should draft running backs earlier. But as we know, that NFL hardly ever repeats itself in terms of year-over-year trends. So I think when it was so in vogue last year to do 0 RB, now nobody's doing 0 RB. I've kind of leaned into that more this year and said, what if just chaos ensues and these running back either injuries or talent profiles aren't as good as what they were last year? Because remember last year, the rookie running back class, largely consensus opinion was it's not very good. And you kind of saw that come to fruition. This year, the running backs, as far as the rookie class, is awesome. So I just think there's more ways for that chaos to ensue this year compared to last year.
I agree. And I've actually done, I haven't done a lot of extreme 0 RB builds, but I have done, I'll start triple wide receiver and then, I'll try to get one of Henderson and Harvey or, both if you can get them sometimes. So I'm with you on that. It's such a good running back class. And I think more times than not, there's an overreaction to what happened last year. And it's, best to just kind of fade that in some respects.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially when the game theory element too makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so we're coming up here again. We got 4 wide receivers, 2 running backs. So I think we're doing pretty well there. We could take Mahomes out here, get that worthy stack.
That works for me.
I think we got to do that. And then, we could get Kelsey if we want, or we can wait. I've been trying to get Kelsey late, but I don't know that we'd be able to do that. There's no way.
I'm down to push Kelsey.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are. I like Jaylen Warren quite a bit this year. I know that people that listen to me a lot are going to laugh at that because we auto draft Kelsey. That's fine. Are going to laugh at that because I was into him a lot last year.
Yeah.
But I think my whole thing with him, and it's not that I don't like Caleb Johnson. I really do. I think he's a perfect fit for the Steelers offense.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of the way that the offense is built right now behind DK Metcalf. I mean, they have to use both of these running backs to have a functional offense. Like the wide receiver 2 currently is, Calvin Austin or something like that. So I think both running backs are awesome picks. I'm trying to get a ton of exposure to both, but Warren in particular, I'm just such a huge fan of his talent, and I feel like it could finally come to fruition. He played through a PCL injury last year as well. So, and I don't think a lot of people talk about that aspect. So yeah, would have liked Warren, but we're good. We got our double here with Kelsey and Mahomes.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you say that because he's been a guy that I added to my list that I'm like, I need to draft a lot in the next 3 weeks because I've mainly been fading him and drafting Caleb Johnson, but Caleb Johnson is not like a special enough talent that I should be taking that hard of a stance. So I basically backed off Caleb Johnson, and I've been trying to take Warren, especially when you see in the other preseason game. Like, again, not going to overreact to one preseason game, but Warren didn't play at all. And that kind of, I think, signals to me that they value him a lot. And Caleb Johnson is a guy that needs to prove himself. And maybe he's going to be the starter by the season then. And, maybe he's going to actually have a pretty strong role. But I think Jaylen Warren could, and especially with Aaron Rodgers, he was going to want that veteran running back.
For sure. And one of the things that I think Caleb, I'm not like a NFL running back scout, professional, but kind of the conversation with him a little bit is on the prospecting type of thing too, is that he needs to improve in pass pro.
Right.
And that's one area where I think Jaylen Warren can get on the field over him. So yeah, I like both guys. And
hey, nothing can keep you off the field worse than pass protection, like being poor at pass protection. And that's one of like my concerns with RJ Harvey. Like I like RJ Harvey. And by the way, I'm a Broncos fan. I don't know if you knew that, but so I've been drafting him just because I think Sean Payton has used multiple backs throughout his career, and, they've produced, and I think he'll scheme Harvey up. But that's also why I've been kind of bullish on J.K. Dobbins, because if he stays healthy, he could very well be the RB1 for the Broncos all year long, just because of that pass protection and his, upside.
For sure.
Okay. So do we want to take Joe Mixon here? Because he's way past ADP. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Are you fading him?
Man, I'm out. I'm out on Mixon. Okay. Let's take Charbonnet.
Okay, let's do it.
Before we time out there we go. So Bill's our Seattle stack with JSN.
What about Luther Burden?
I'm good with that too. Add a little rookie volatility to this team. That's cool.
Yeah, let's do it. I've been a Burden fan this year, and I've been trying to scoop him up. I was drafting him for a lot, and then it was like, he's got that soft tissue. Is he gonna practice? It was very concerning. And then, he started to look good in camp, and I'm like, okay, we're back on the Burden train. I'm going down on the Burden train.
Yeah, it's funny. There's always, especially in best ball, like you said, because it's such a big, huge component of fantasy football, which 3 or 4 years ago really wasn't. We're reacting so much to everything that we hear and see, whether it's OTAs, minicamp, training camp, coach quotes, whatever it is. And immediately after the NFL draft, it's so funny. All these rookies shoot up the board. It's like a cyclical kind of thing. Every year it happens. Then they fall in July, and then they kind of like slowly ramp back up in August when they get positive reports. So I thought Burden was way overpriced, in May, June. Yeah. And then he was like way underpriced in July. And now I kind of feel like it's like starting to settle into kind of a sweet spot.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. And, it's interesting. I had been out on Mixon, but now like his ADP is starting to get so crazy that I'm like, I've been picking him up in some drafts just because if he gets right, in specific builds, I think he could be, if he gets right, he could definitely be the guy you need. If we're continuing to see, because he has an ADP of 84, and here we are, at 120, and he's still hasn't been picked, which is a little crazy to me. But I get being out on him, and to be honest, the same thing. Like I've been drafting a good amount of Kenneth Walker, but we know one thing about Kenneth Walker is, he's not the healthiest running back, and Charbonnet was one of those profiles. I remember on draft night, I was so bummed that Charbonnet went to the Seahawks because I was like, this is a starting running back in the NFL, and he's behind another good starting running back.
Yeah.
But if Walker gets hurt, he could be the guy you need.
For sure. And I think the Mixon point is well taken, where obviously and I'm pretty spooked by what's going on with the ankle, but at some point the bet changes. Right? When he goes in the 60s, it's like, what are we doing? 70s? No way. 80s? Of course not. And then slowly you get to 90s, 100s, 110s, 120s. And you look at the players he goes around, then the bet becomes completely different. Where when you're taking Mixon in 120s, you're telling yourself, I just need him to emerge at some point in the middle of the season, basically.
Right.
Is kind of the archetype of the guys that he goes around, right? Like Tajay Spears kind of had been going around this range, and Zach Charbonnet, where it's you're not really drafting him for week 1. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I would have been fine to kind of throw a dart there at that point.
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe we take Trevor Lawrence here because we got Brian Thomas Jr. and then we get maybe Diami Brown and Brenton Strange later. What are your thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, let's do it. Lock up that stack.
All right. And let's see, we got probably need another back. Javonte looking to be the starter.
I say let's keep going with the Jags. Let's take Tootin.
Yeah, that's a good point. And he's another guy. He's actually on my list. When we talk about the drumbeat, we're seeing the drumbeat for Tootin. In fact, I don't know. I'm sure I know you're actually very in tune. So I don't know if you saw on X, a little before we came on, but there's starting to be weird tweets with Bigsby. ETN left practice early. I think he may have aggravated something. And then Bigsby posted a weird tweet, and then Tootin busted a 50-yard touchdown with the ones or the twos. So, I've heard some people say, some sharp people, that they're trying to leave every draft with one of ETN, one of Bigsby, or one of Tootin. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, if the room gives it to you, sure. I don't think you need to force that idea.
Sure.
But it's so funny. Year over year, there's a lot of research, and other great analysts in the industry have kind of proven this. JJ Zacharyason's done a lot of work on ambiguous situations being what we should run into and embrace. Mm-hmm. Yet every year we're I don't know. So then ADP stays low, and we kind of all are worried, or you don't want to be wrong. And it's you're going to lose 95% of these teams anyway. Right. Let's shoot for the one outcome that could help you, take down a tournament. And when I look at this running back room, my preference is for best ball specifically, and as far as late season upside, is Tootin. But also I'm willing to be what if that's not right? And what if ETN is the guy that you needed? And so I'm taking the ETN, or I'm taking Tank Bigsby. I don't love the new price, if I'm being honest, for kind of an early down grinder type back who's not necessarily, lauded as a pass catcher. But you go back to kind of just what is the most obvious outcome here? What's most likely? At some point, this regime probably is going to want to see what they have in Tootin.
Yeah.
It may take an injury. It may take 3 months. We don't really know. But right after the report, there was right after the draft, a Jeremy Fowler report about the team is definitely not in love with Travis Etienne, and Tank Bigsby is not their guy and had some fumbling issues. They love Bishal too.
Right.
And now we've kind of come full circle where Etienne had his time, Bigsby had his time. Now Tootin's kind of coming back into vogue. So I'm getting equal exposures to all three and just hoping the right team, gets lucky, basically.
I like that. I have more thoughts on that, but we are getting close. So what are your thoughts here on these next picks here?
Well, we've got a Chief stack going if you want to consider Hollywood.
That's right. He is on the board. We could take him. Who probably if he gets healthy, he definitely is more sure of a thing than Jalen Royals, he could be another Sky Moore. Maybe he can not be Sky Moore, but maybe he could be Sky Moore.
Definitely possible.
Yeah.
So I don't mind him if he's available. And then trying to think about our playoff stacks here.
Let's just get that out of the way.
Let's see. So we have 3 running backs. Oh, yeah, 4 running backs.
We have 4.
I think we can be flexible with this pick. I don't mind taking a shot on Cedric Tillman too. I think he's kind of a fun upside pick.
Let's do it.
Even though the Browns are obviously not what everybody pictures for upside, but
I've been taking a lot of him.
Size, he flashed last year, so I'm cool with him.
He flashed last year, and I liked him as a prospect. And I've been hearing good reports of him out of camp and everything. Now, back to your point, it's interesting. Like that's always been my approach as well in basketball. Is like you want to target those biggest backfields and just kind of, pick your guy that you really want, but still spread exposures out. And it's funny sometimes there's great upside, especially in like 0 RB builds. If you can net the people who perfectly like nail that pick in their 0 RB build, like they have really set themselves up to potentially be able to win the whole thing. But also there's times when no one wins. I saw it last year with the Broncos. It was Jaleel McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, and Audric Estime. And I took a bunch of Javonte, and he had the starting job most of the year, but did nothing with it. And it's funny because I've had a little bit of PTSD, so I wasn't clicking his name early on, when I was doing these drafts. But lately I've been coming around to it. Like it just appears that they're not going to trade for another back, and he's been looking great in camp. So I guess I'm just going to crash into the ground on Javonte Williams ride again.
There's no way this goes wrong.
Yeah.
The other thing too, with some of these ambiguous situations, I think when price is right, it makes sense sometimes to take both or 2 of the backs on the same team.
Yeah.
Which then the bet changes, right? Like last year, for example, we all spent all summer like, is it Chase Brown? Is it Zach Moss? When does Brown take over? If he does, all those things. And obviously in hindsight, Chase Brown was an incredible pick at ADP. But if you embrace that and said, I don't know, let's just take both and hope that the Bengals are a great offense and they each kind of have their weeks of contributing to my team. Like Zach Moss was giving you some usable weeks early on, and then Chase Brown exploded. So that's another example that things can play out in these ambiguous backfields. It feels like you have to take one and only take one and kind of like make your stance. But I'm trying to just get like unique combinations of all these guys.
Most definitely. I do like that.
Especially when they're cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So we have Jacksonville stack going. We have Kansas City stack. We don't have any week 17 things going on here.
I was just going to say that. So if we want to, as far as Denver, I mean, we might be good at wide receiver. A guy we could get late is Troy Franklin. He's kind of a deep threat. So if that game goes off, he could definitely be a guy that we can get. Jacksonville, they play Indy week 17.
Throw a little DJ Giddens in there.
Yeah, that could
AD
work.
Mitchell, something like that.
Yeah.
But we're up in 2 picks. We probably need to consider Darnold is so gross, but we probably need to consider it just to complete the game stack and plug our nose and hope that he's good this year again.
Yeah. We can also take Alec Pierce. I mean, or Pat Bryant. They're kind of both there. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, in doubt, like whenever I'm kind of splitting the hairs here, I generally try to lean towards the unproven rookie.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with that.
Say no more. We'll take Pat Bryant. We'll be done at wide receiver. That's 4. We got 8 wide receivers. We definitely got to get a couple of tight ends and another running back.
Yeah, who's on the board right now for tight end?
So we got K-Dot, and he won't make it back to us. Mason Taylor, he was in practice today. I don't know if you saw this. He caught like a touchdown. I thought he was hurt, but I guess not.
Yeah, at the time, they said high ankle sprain. He'll be out roughly a week, and turns out it was roughly a week. So we actually got something accurate there. But yeah, Taylor's I think interesting. I don't know if Elijah Arroyo is still on the board. I can't really see the queue, but we do have a Darnold team going, so it makes sense.
Yes,
he's there.
Let's get Arroyo there. That's a good point. We can double stack Darnold. It's interesting. I've mainly been fading Darnold just because,
Me too.
What we saw the last couple games that he played in Minnesota, I was like, that reminds me of the Darnold that we knew with the Jets. And, he doesn't have Kevin O'Connell. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, you name it. The running game. Well, he has a running game, but he doesn't have just all the things that he had around him. And so I've been fading him, but like as a third quarterback, why not?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough because I'm not sure he's the one starting in week 17. I really think there's a chance we could see some Jalen Milroe at some point this year, depending on how good the Seahawks are or aren't. But yeah, and the contract's weird because it seems like he got a lot of money, but they can kind of get out of it after a year or so, like if it does go south.
Right.
So I'm with you. I'm definitely worried about a Sam Darnold pumpkin thing happening here, but we always talk about it on our show. It's like you just draft as if you're right and let the chips fall where they may. And we're already betting on Seattle anyway. So
yeah,
makes sense, especially as your third guy.
Most definitely. And so we drafted so many wide receivers that we are going to have a unique build here, whether we want to or not, because we got 2 picks left. So we're either going to have, it could be like a 3-5-8-2 build. What's kind of what we're setting up at, or we just leave running back alone and we draft 2 tight ends.
Oh man, I guess of this build, our story is Kelsey is still him.
Yeah,
gets positive touchdown luck and hope for the best. I'm good with a 2 tight end build if that's cool with you.
Yeah, especially if we can get Otten here, I think.
Yeah, Otten's fine, or Taylor. I'm good with either.
Okay.
And then, I like Giddens in round 18.
I like it. Let's do it. So Otten's at least a reliable tight end, assuming health, and then we take Giddens here. So we got our week 17 correlation. We got all 3 of our quarterbacks stacked. We have Mahomes triple stacked with Worthy, Hollywood, and Kelsey. We have Trevor Lawrence with Bashal Tootin and Brian Thomas Jr. And that's kind of one of those things when we look back at unique builds, not everyone always stacks the quarterback with the running back. So I think that's unique in itself, is like a QB +2 with the running back being one of those 2.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because in DFS, like a single week, generally speaking, you're not actively trying to put the running back with the quarterback.
Yeah.
But in this format, where we're basically just trying to bet on team stacks and saying this team is good this year, therefore several of these guys outperform ADP and the whole team rolls. If the Jags are good, like Trevor Lawrence is probably bringing a couple of guys along for the ride. And if we hit on the running back, then it makes sense. So I'm actually a big fan of it in best ball just because it minimizes kind of the number of things you have to get right across the entire season.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're just really betting on the offense, right? If the Jags, if they have an offense that you need, I think we got good pieces of it, especially if ETN gets traded while we're on stream.
that would be pretty epic.
And then we also got Charbonnet with Sam Darnold. So when JSN. So overall I think it's pretty good. We got some steady guys, some high upside guys. We need a couple of rookies to do well here with Luther Burden and Pat Bryant, but the returns so far have been good. And I think it's a pretty good BBM draft.
This is the winner.
Picking from the 12 spot, more or less.
I mean, this is guaranteed to win. There's no question.
Yeah. I mean, I got Matthew on with the footballer, so it's definitely going to smash. All right, let's look at Soup's draft real quick. He started kind of a bully tight end build with Bowers and Kittle. I mean, as bully tight end as you can get, because you're really not going to – I mean, he almost got one spot away from getting actually Bowers. Well, no, not quite. But, he almost got actually Bowers and McBride. That would have been crazy. And then went 3 running backs. So going to have to really do a lot of work at wide receiver here. Shakir, Shaheed. He got Purdy with Kittle stacked there. Pittman, Mixon, Kirk, Douglas, Dobbs. I like Douglas a lot. I like Dobbs. So I do like those picks.
And how many? This is an 8. This is an 8 wide receiver room.
Yeah, 1, 2, that's 4.
It says at the top. It's small, so I can't read it.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, that could work, especially if Jefferson healthy and smashes. Yeah. That's definitely unique. I will say the bully tight end stuff. It's fun. Historically, has been
bad,
not great. For being honest.
Yeah.
But it's unique, that's for sure. And I will say, I was a huge fan of Kittle when he was going in the 4th and 5th round. I do think at some point when he's getting this close to McBride, McBride becomes like an infinitely better pick, in my opinion, relative to Kittle.
I agree.
As far as their range of outcomes. But it's unique for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so good drafts, and it's kind of up to you, Matt. I'm going to do Eliminator draft. I'm going to do one more. Do you got time for another one? You got to hop out of here. I know you got a busy schedule.
Yeah, I think I got to hop off, unfortunately. But this was fun, man. I appreciate you having me on. And like I said, hopefully we win that $2 million.
Absolutely. Thank you for hopping on. And by the way, tell everyone where they could find all your stuff at.
Yeah, definitely. Everything I do is with the Fantasy Footballers. So right now, everything is geared towards and focused in the Ultimate Draft Kit. I do a lot of injury analysis and stuff like that as well. So that's all in the UDK. And then I host the DFS and Dynasty podcast with the Ballers.
Nice. Really good stuff. Like I said, I listen to the Fantasy Footballers, specifically DFS and betting podcasts every week during the season, all off season. They're really sharp. Him and Kyle Borgononi, they do great stuff. And they also have just like a really good, they have really good chemistry. I think you guys were talking the other day. That's didn't you do your first like episode 5 years ago with
5 years ago? Married? Yeah, 5 years ago, our first show came out on my wedding day.
Yeah,
because we had to we had to pre-record it on like the Monday before,
right?
And it's funny in hindsight now, like going back and listening to it. Don't listen to it; it was terrible. But we like messed up the recording, and the producers were annoyed. It was like a whole thing. We were working out the kinks. But yeah, the first one came out on my wedding day, so it was funny when we had a show last week or 2 weeks ago on August 1st. It was my actual anniversary, but also the day of DFS and betting. So Kyle and I will always share that with my wife.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, and of course, there's no way you would ever been able to record the show on your wedding day, or your wife would have killed you if she's anything like my wife. But
accurate.
Well, awesome. Well, this is fun. I appreciate you, Matt. Hope we win, and hope you win some money this year all around in best ball and DFS.
Yeah, man. You too. Good luck this year, and thanks again for having me on. This was great.
Of course. We'll see you later.
Take care.
Too. All right. So we'll do a solo one if I can figure out. Goodness gracious, if I could figure out this screen. We're always changing this. We'll figure it out. But yeah, let's hop in. I mean, I could just be in 2 screens, I guess. I don't know. There we go. All right, let's do the Eliminator draft. We're going to totally do a shift. I want to hit these. Before this fills. The weekly winners filled like last Thursday. I don't even think it made it to Friday. And I've been hammering these Eliminator drafts because this is a series of head-to-heads the entire year until the 3-seat final. So basically you go against your pod. You only have to beat 6 people out of your pod, so the top half advance, and then it's a series of head-to-head. So we are shifting our mindset to cash game strategy. Let's roll this thing. I'm trying to get in a lot of these. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right, so we're waiting for 8 people. Hopefully, this will fill pretty fast. You guys can get in here. We got 6 people left. By the way, guys, for those who are here, who are watching this live stream. If you're not a DFS Army subscriber, it's the start of NFL season. We have, and it's officially started with preseason last week. It started with the Hall of Fame game before that. Last week, week 1 of the NFL season. You go into Geek's channel in the Discord, and there's multiple people who won over $1,000 on NFL preseason slate. So we're running some promotions right now. You can get $50 off NFL yearly. So if you're like me, I hate subscriptions. I hate just every single month, just like watching these, all these subscriptions just like start to drain your account. So I personally like to pay for things up front, just like one time a year. I know it's coming out. I could plan for it. You can do $50 off with promo code NFL25. I will put this in the description. I'll put both of these in the video description. The other option is if you do like to, pay for things monthly, you can get 50% off your first month with NFL 2025. So it's kind of whatever you want to do. But this gets you access to the cheat sheets that we do each and every week. The upper slide has been killing for preseason. For this will get you the rest of preseason and the weeks 1 through 18 of the NFL season, then the playoffs all the way through the Super Bowl. If you do the monthly, that covers that. If you do the yearly, you get Super Bowl plus you get season long and best ball content. So it's a really good deal for $250. And obviously that gets you access to not only the cheat sheet, the coach's notes, in the Discord community, the research station, but also the DFS Army domination station that has been ranked by Daily Overlay as the best in the industry. So you get access to all this. We've already started our back testing streams. Geek started that last night. Again, NFL 25 for $50 off the entire year, or NFL 2025 for 50% off your first month. If you just want to try it out, see for yourself. And yeah, let's do this. Let's do this draft. So we're picking 4th here. And remember, this is cash game strategy. So I'm probably going to start with Jahmyr Gibbs here. I want to get a hero RB back first and foremost. And then, we start to think about, okay, so now we have to, add some wide receivers, add some running backs. I typically like to have a balanced build when I build these teams. Now, looks like Soups made it in here. Fongul made it in here, which is awesome. So we got a couple of our usuals that made it in here. But, I want to have a balanced build. Running back, wide receiver. I also, if I can, I want to get a quarterback, an elite quarterback. If not, I don't want to end up with 3 late quarterbacks. I really, if I miss out on the elite quarterbacks, I'm really looking for guys that I think are definitely undervalued. What's up, Raz? I mean, hey, dude, if you want to hop in here, we can do an Eliminator draft if you're doing one of these. We can see your face right now. Yes, you get to see everyone's face every week. Geek and the Tournament Tactics crew, Josiah, Bobby Wow, Burns, and then you get to see Raz every week with Tattoo and Josiah and Burns. I'm pretty sure it's all 4 of you every week on the Live Before Lock show. You get to see DFS Up North and his big guns on the Showdown breakdowns. So, yeah, you get to see everyone. Almost everyone. All right, so, this is a pretty normal start. Chase, Bijan, Saquon Barkley, Fongul got Barkley. I want Gibbs, Lamb. Jefferson falling a little bit. He was going earlier, falling a little bit. We got Neighbors, Collins, HN, Genty. Yeah, so it looks like this is what I was talking about with Betz on earlier. Henry, it kind of throws me off when you go from one contest to the next. I've been exclusively doing the Eliminators. Henry's going 7th. So, but in, BBM, like he was going actually like right where we picked him, which is crazy here. I thought it was, getting good value. And that's why you kind of You got to be like in tune with whatever room you're in, and specifically whatever contest you're in. Yes, I definitely, we got like 3 more weeks of these, so we'll definitely get you on, Raz. And shout out to MLB guys. They've been crushing it this year. So as usual. All right. So picking here. This is a tough decision. I think I'm going to take Ladd McConkey. I don't like AJ Brown. Well, actually AJ Brown went before me, but I wouldn't have picked him anyway. I don't like him in this format, not in cash game status. Like, he just does not get enough targets. He's very boom or bust. He'll have big weeks, which is great for best ball, but in cash game type format, there's not enough volume. I'm not too worried about Keenan Allen. I don't think they signed him in August to take away from Ladd McConkey's rookie season. I expect McConkey to even take another step. He was really good at last year. I like the offense. So, and Josh Allen went, and it's like, so do I want to reach here on Jaden Daniels? It's not really, it's only a few spots. I think I've done too many of these where picking from this spot, I don't get the quarterback. And guys like Jaden Daniels, guys like Josh Allen, these are in Jalen Hurts, and he may have made it back to me. He probably won't, though. These are guys that you want to play in your cash lineup. When we're building for cash lineup every week, we want guys that have a good floor. We have that with Jaden. We have that with Jahmyr Gibbs. We have that with Ladd McConkey, guys that are getting a lot of volume. So, I'm doing enough of these that I'm willing to reach in some spots to get my quarterback. I feel like there's a lot of wide receivers and running backs that we'll be able to get along the way from here, have a balanced build, get running backs, get wide receivers that are going to get a lot of volume. So this is the Eliminator contest on Underdog Fantasy. This contest pays out $200K to first. And essentially, as I showed at the start, it's like you're in your pot. So half of us will be eliminated after week 1. And then it's a series of head-to-heads all the way through to week 17, where it pays out $200K to first. So basically, after a few weeks in this contest, you are in the money. So that's why we've been really trying to hammer it, because I think this is a contest that is plus EV. I think a lot of people, if you're playing this the right way, if you're building it like a cash lineup, you're going to be able to make some money in this contest. It's not like putting your money into the BBM where it's like, yeah, if you make it to the finals, like, you may make some money depending on how high you place. But for most people, it's going to be a losing format. I don't think that's going to be the case for us. Yeah, so that's a good play, because he's a starting running back. And, we thought maybe Tajay Spears might cut into that, and, maybe he still will. But as of right now, with that injury to Spears, it does not look good. So you're looking good with sitting with a good amount of Pollard. I like that. You're going to be hard to beat if Tajay Spears is not healthy. That's for sure. All right. So, I start to look at some guys as I'm on the clock in a few picks here who are going to get a lot of volume. Devontae Adams, I do not like anymore. Not with the Stafford injury. That's concerning. I think Tet's going to get a lot of volume. Terry McLaurin's holdout scares me. I don't know what the upside is with Cortland Sutton, but overall, I think I like the offense. I like Trevion Henderson, but I don't know. I don't like him as much in this format. And, I really want starters. I don't want guys that are going to be so volatile week to week. So Tet just went. There's some good backs here. I think we're just going to take Kenneth Walker. As he's healthy, he's going to be the starter. We do have to worry about week 8 now. Week 8 and week 12. So we really probably don't want to draft any more guys unless they're late from those weeks. So we have to start thinking about bye weeks with advancing. Yeah, I agree with that. So I really think that you want to have at least 2 running backs in your first 5 rounds. And And that really allows you to have an elite quarterback, 2 wide receivers. Like, I'm trying to leave like the first 5 rounds with a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. And if I don't get my quarterback, then I have 2 running backs and 3 wide receivers, or vice versa. I think that's a good start. I've basically been waiting on the tight ends. I think there's enough value that I can hit tight ends. If I pick the right 3 tight ends, I'm going to see. I don't know what just happened here with Isaiah Likely, where he just went. That's a crazy pick. Like, that's crazy. I'm going to take Ridley here. And this is one of those things where DJ Moore is a better football player than Calvin Ridley. But in a format like this, with Tennessee, who is throwing to, Cam Ward's throwing to Calvin Ridley, but like, who else is he throwing to? You can't say that in Chicago. There's Rome Odunze. There's Colson Loveland, who they just drafted. There's, Luther Burden, who they just drafted in the second round. Like, you may have weeks where DJ Moore does not get the type of targets that you would have saw him getting last year. So it's kind of been an avoid for me. Guys like that, at least where he's going in drafts. Now, Ibuka is a guy that is kind of in the same situation, except I trust Baker Mayfield more than I do Caleb Williams. And Chris Godwin's not going to be ready to start the season. So I think Ibuka is going to be active early on. So it's not as much a concern for me, especially where we're getting him at his price. And, and everything comes down to cost. Like, what does the cost look like for these players? I think it's safe to say so far, Ladd McConkey and Calvin Ridley, these are guys that are going to be cash viable most weeks because of the type of volume that they get. And they really should be the number 1 wide receiver in their offense. Yeah, but the thing is, dude, is Isaiah Likely has a high ankle sprain. He's not even guaranteed to play week 1. And he's been going in the 7th round, 7th, 8th round. And he was just taken in the 5th round. Like, that's a BBM. That's a best ball style pick. That is way too early to be taking him in this contest. Yeah, so his ADP is 174. He just went at 1. He just went at 50. Like, that's wild. Wow. So I honestly think that was a mistake. I don't think he meant to take him there. He took him over 100 spots plus on ADP. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take Pacheco there. Another starting running back. I got 3 starting running backs to start this draft. I like that. There are a couple options here coming up at wide receiver that I like. Yeah, I would not take Jacoby Myers because he's a week 8 bye. We want to be cognizant of that. Juwan Jennings. Yeah, I think so. I've done it before too. I've auto drafted on accident some guys that I have queued up, and it's so frustrating for that to happen, especially in an eliminator draft like this, because you're probably toast. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. So both of my guys just went. It's tough. If I didn't have the double, at wide receiver, I think it's fine. I'm just going to take Jacoby Myers here because I don't have a wide receiver with a week 8 bye. So I expect him to be the wide receiver 1, obviously outside of Brock Bowers. So he's a guy that I think will have a decent floor. We did play him in cash a lot last year. This should be an upgrade with Geno Smith taking over for Sam Darnold. So I think that's, yeah, Evans has been a guy that I've ultimately been fading. But yeah, I think for sure, if Godwin does not play and it's Evans and Ibuka, I mean, it's business as usual for Evans. So kind of, I think, just depends on how early Godwin's is out there. But I don't really love my wide receiver room, so really needs to look at some guys that I don't love any of these wide receivers. Jaden Reed is out 3 weeks. He's not draftable for me in this contest unless he falls way down. Yeah, and this wide receiver range in this contest is kind of like a dead zone to me. If Shakir falls far enough, I could take him, assuming he's ready for week 1. It's a little tricky. He had that sprain, so he's kind of questionable for week 1. It might just be best to kind of get a tight end normally, like earlier than I normally would take one. We could take Warren, we could take Dobbins, and I don't know, and then kind of hammer wide receivers. I just don't really like this range of wide receivers, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't want to do a bunch of slows like this time of year, but like I'm thinking I may have to do a bunch of slows starting here pretty soon. So Hawkinson just went. I don't want to take Kelsey. I don't like this range of running back or wide receiver. So what I think I'm going to do, and someone else took Shakir, I'm going to go more running back heavy than I would in this contest to start it. Gibbs, Walker, Pacheco, Warren. I think, we just talked about it with Matthew Betz. I think Jaylen Warren could have like a bigger start to the year, and then eventually Caleb Johnson comes on more and more. And that's fine in this type of contest because that's exactly what I want is the beginning of the year. I want to get into the money, and then, then we could see how far we get with this. But I think Jaden Higgins is the guy that I would consider. Keon Coleman was just not good enough last year for me to really like him in this type of contest. All right, we're going to check Jaden Higgins here. He's got a week 6 bye. I do think he's going to play opposite of Nico Collins immediately as a rookie. He's a good prospect, so I think he'll be fine. But we're really, the way this is kind of shaping up, I'm really going to hammer, I think, wide receivers like all the way through the end of this draft. I think there's going to be some so there's some guys that are like, I think, kind of undervalued later that we'll be looking to get. I definitely need to look at getting a tight end soon. And we're going to leave running back alone for a while. I think we got a good stable of backs. Another thing, I don't really look at stacking a whole lot in this contest. Like, if it happens naturally, great. But it's not something that I really force. Like, yeah, we got correlation here between McConkey and where was it? No, that wasn't it. I think we just had the same week 8 bye, but it'll happen oftentimes that I'll get like Omari and Hampton and McConkey, for example. Or, I'll get Travion Henderson and, Demario Douglas. Like, I'm not forcing that stack, but if I believe in that offense and I think the offense is going to score a good amount of points, then yeah, sure. There's going to be sacks, and we'll see this when we build our cash lineups. Like, sometimes it just comes together that the value for that week is a stack. And you'll have a quarterback and you'll have, one of his pass catchers. Maybe he's at value, or maybe they're just in a really good spot in a game that we expect to be a shootout, and they project really well and they're getting a lot of ownership, and they're the chalk that week, and, we'll be fine playing in cash. What up, Ray? I know we did this early today. Sorry if you missed it. We Betz had, I invited Betz to be on and really wanted him to come on, and he had a pretty busy schedule. So I just, I wanted to make sure that we could accommodate him. So we did this one a little early. All right, I'm gonna take Tucker Kraft here. Tough decision between him and Loveland. But, we saw Tucker Kraft caught a lot of touchdowns last year. So I'm going to ride with him a little bit again. I mean, I would love to click Darnell Mooney right here, but we don't know if he's going to be healthy to start the year. And I don't want to take any zeros in week 1. Like, the worst thing you could do in the first couple weeks of this contest is take a 0. Unless, it's a guy that you drafted in the very last round. This guy right here has no idea what he's doing. He just took Will Shipley. I mean, I just don't even know what to say anymore. All right. So I'm going to take Rashad Bateman. I didn't love anyone in that range, but I wanted to get away with a wide receiver. And a little bit past ADP, the Ravens, they are going to score a lot of points. So, hopefully I'll get enough from Bateman in some of the weeks. Enough spike weeks from him. I'm going to definitely feel there's some guys later that I think will be, more heavily targeted that can kind of help me fill weeks. And, I'll get occasional boosts from Rashad Bateman, who will catch a deep tutty and, I think will be cash viable for us. But yeah, I think we need to look at getting another quarterback pretty soon. We're round 11. So, going to be picking at the end of the 12th and then start of the 13th. Need to get another tight end. So this guy started Barkley, Lamar Jackson, Marvin Harrison, and then DK Metcalf, which is fine. That's a perfectly acceptable start. Then he went Likely. Then he drafted Addison, who's on a 3-game suspension. Then he drafted Will Shipley in the 11th round. This is definitely an Eagles fan. What are you doing? This is an Eagles homer. I've been getting a lot of Pop Douglas. Yeah, especially in the Eliminator. I'm not sure what type of ceiling he's going to have, but the McDaniels offense, I feel like, is produced very well for the slots. So, floor will be there. Ceiling, I don't know, but in the Eliminator, that's all I want is floor. Pop Douglas is a guy that, we can get at 146. So I'm perfectly fine with taking him there. And what is going on with Colson Loveland? He's been dropping in every draft I've done. Did I miss something on Colson Loveland? Did he get hurt? He just went almost 20 spots past ADP. And it's been like that in every single draft. So, yeah, I think I'm going to take Demario Douglas here. As I talked about, I think he has that floor that we are looking for. Yeah, for sure. It's I'm getting draft fatigue, no doubt. I'm coming up on about 200, and it's I love getting up first thing in the morning. I drink some water, I do my stretches, then I drink my coffee, and then I follow the news. I check the news, and then I hop right into a draft. That first draft of the day, I love it. I think I'm going to take Cam Ward here. I have my floor and ceiling combo with Cam Ward and Jaden Daniels at quarterback, two guys that can run. We know Jaden Daniels is also an elite passer. That's why he has that floor and ceiling combo. With Cam Ward, we don't know what his ceiling is going to be. We know we should have some floor if he's willing to run the ball. So I'm perfectly good with these being my two quarterbacks in this contest. But as I was saying, and then, then I work on some stuff and this, that, and the other. And, Ray was talking about doing mortgages earlier. People want to do mortgages yesterday. Yeah, I do insurance, supplemental benefits, life, health, disability. So when I'm not doing DFS, that's what I do. So I get that. And I get that back and forth. Like sometimes you're just tired. But so, yeah, I work on that during the day. And I'm getting a little bit of draft fatigue, but it's crunch time. We got 3 weeks. Like I was talking about with Betz, like you have to, like now is the time to like really hammer some of these guys. Because if we continue to see it from like JCM and we continue to see it from Tootin and ETN gets traded, for example, like these guys are going to fly up the draft board and you're going to wish you had gotten them. You'd wish you'd been doing the draft so you got them at the discount that you got them at. So, yeah, crunch time. We started back testing last night. I got to catch up on that stream, do some back testing of my own. Yeah, then you start getting these guys that come in here and they really have no clue. They're just, they're excited for football season, and it's great because you get guys like Z2 here who took likely in the 5th round, which I thought was a mistake, but then took Shipley in the 11th. And it's like, okay, so then you start to get these pockets of values that are really huge. And as long as the draft doesn't get thrown out, which I don't expect it to. Oh, Tillman just went. I can't click his name enough in this range. Okay. I think we're going to take another tight end here. I only have Kraft, so I'm going to take Strange and then look to get like Chig or Kate Otten, maybe one of these guys. Jatavian Sanders, one of my third guys. So I got 4 backs, 6 wide receivers. Okay. Won't draft Judkins. Are there guys that I would be okay taking a running back later? Like, I think for this format, I'm just going to take Rico Dowdle because I know he's going to have a role. I'll finish up with 5 running backs. I think I'm good with the 5 that we have. We got 2 week 8, but we got Pacheco, Warren, Dowdle for week 8. I don't know. We may have to draft another running back because I really don't think we're strong enough week 8 to get to week 9. Ladd, Ridley, Myers. And these are all spread out. So, like, we're good at wide receiver. I might do, let's see, we got 3 picks left. Yeah, I might do 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end. I think that would be a good end right there. And we're set on quarterback. You make good money in mortgages, for sure. That's probably why you've been doing it 8 years. It's kind of like selling insurance. Like it's boring, but there's good money in it. So that's why people stick in it until they win BBM. And then they're like, you know what? I'm done with that. I'm not selling no more mortgages. I'm not selling no more insurance policies. That's the goal. As much as I kind of want to take Pat Bryant, but like as much, I think there's a couple other guys in the final round that I could take. As much as I want to take Pat Bryant, I've taken enough of him. I'm worried about the amount of Pat Bryant that I have. Yeah, exactly. People are crazy. Nick, so I think I think one of the ways you win this contest, you obviously want your floor guys. Like you want to build your lineups to you have a solid floor every week. You thought about the bye weeks, you got a balanced build, but at the end of the day, like you still want to be able to take shots that set you apart. You got Chase Brown last year, you got Bucky Irving, like those are the guys that you needed. So 5'8", okay. I'm gonna take Chig here. I've hardly taken any Chig. I've taken a lot of Otten, so I'm good with that. And then let's see what we got at running back here. If any of these guys are worthy to take. I think so. And to your point, so you obviously take those guys like Braylon Allen. And I'm going to be honest, I only think the scenario where Braylon Allen hits is the guy you need is they trade Breece Hall. But I do think that's a good probability that they do trade Breece Hall. I'm going to take Tajay Brooks because he's kind of the same thing. Tajay Brooks only needs one thing to happen for him to be the guy you need, and that's Chase Brown gets hurt. That's how much I believe in his skill set and in the offense that he's in. I think he does all things well for running backs. Running back, he does all things good. He's not a special talent, but he does all things good in that offense for the Bengals, enough to be the guy you need if Chase Brown gets hurt. Braylon Allen, the Jets are going to be a bad team, I think. So they're going to be a team that's, going to be like bottom 10 in scoring and actually bottom 4 in projected points. So I don't think it's going to be a good offense. So a running back by committee, I don't really want anything to do with that. But this whole notion that like they're going to have 3 backs on a running team on what's projected to be a bad team, like I just don't see that playing out over the entire season. So I think what's going to happen is the Jets aren't going to be very good. And there's a good chance they're just going to trade Breece Hall. They're going to try to load up on picks for next year's draft. And in that scenario, Braylon Allen he's a good running back. Like, and if this was the actual Detroit Lions and they had Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, like I would love Braylon Allen. I just don't think it's going to happen. Like Glenn, I think is just a little bit delusional right now that the Jets are going to have what they had in Detroit. They're not, because you don't have Jared Goff. You don't have Ben Johnson, who is the mastermind of the offense. You don't have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. You got a great backfield, but you have Fields and you have one wide receiver. So I don't see it. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to take Ray McLeod here. Looks like Coker went 2 picks before I got him. He's been kind of a late target for me. I guess to finish up on that point is I think that Braylon Allen could very much hit this year, but I think it's going to need a Breece Hall trade or injury, and I think a trade is definitely likely. So it's a good point. It's a good chance to take. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, and that's kind of like when we look at like in DFS, we look at like good chalk, bad chalk. We think about guys that like, okay, so the backup running back is priced at at this price and he's getting ownership, like why? It's kind of the thing in best ball. It's like, okay, so we want to draft the backup who's jumping up in ADP on a team that's projected to be a bad offense. Why? So there's scenarios where it does hit, and that is likely where Brees Hall is, traded. And honestly, I've thought this like about a few running backs. Like I've ultimately been out on Brees Hall and I've been out on Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is like another running back. I'm like, the scenario where Alvin Kamara hits this year is he gets traded. And then like if you faded him, you look like a fool, but like how could you plan for a trade, right? Anyways, so draft's completed. I'll look at my team here. We'll look at the board. I like what I did at quarterback. Like I said, I wanted to get an elite one. I got an elite running back, but the way the board was going, I ended up taking more running backs than I normally would early. I would normally like take the one running back and then hit a couple wide receivers and then take another running back. But I ended up kind of going Gibbs. I went Gibbs, McConkey, Daniels, and then I went Kenneth Walker before I took Ridley. But I still like McConkey and Ridley to get a good amount of volume. Jacoby Myers is wide receiver 1 for the Raiders. And then I didn't love the rest of this. Higgins, Bateman. I loved the Douglas pick, but I didn't love the rest of this. McLeod is a guy that specifically the reason I've been targeting him is because I think there's a chance that Mooney does not play to start the season, and Ray-Ray McLeod has good upside early. And obviously, he looked good last year. And I think that offense, if it takes another step, he could just be a guy that's undervalued relative to where the field's drafting him anyway. Tight end, 3 tight ends. I like Tucker Kraft. The other 2 are just kind of fill-in guys. But yeah, I think it's an okay team. I like the running backs. The running backs are going to have to carry this team. The running backs, McConkey and Ridley, are going to be the reason why this team would advance. Definitely not my favorite Eliminator team. Yeah, exactly. And, and that's kind of the thing. It's like, are we sure that Brees Hall is going to get a ton of dump offs? Because running quarterbacks normally don't dump off a ton to their running backs. Fungul, we got Fungul in here. I like the start. Bijan, Kyron, Josh Allen's, Cortland Sutton, Pickens. I would not have taken Nix here. That's my critique. You take Allen in the 3rd, you're getting your quarterback like right here. Your next quarterback like right here in this format. But I do like Nix overall. And, you don't really need to stack. So you got Nix, Ibuka, Ibuka, Nix, Ingram, and Mims. You definitely don't need to 4 stacks. I do like Ingram as well. I do like Nix in a vacuum. I just don't like it with Josh Allen. Plus, you got Cortland Sutton. So I think you just got too much stacking going on here, but I definitely like some of the players that you took in a vacuum. I like Arroyo. I like Horton as late round targets as well. And looks like you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you didn't draft enough running backs. If you're going to draft 4 running backs, like you needed to have probably 4 of those running backs in like the first 7 or 8 rounds. Davis and Jaden Blue are they're just like flyers essentially for this type of format. Soups. And I think that's the last one. And then we'll get out of here. Soups, we got Henry, Drake London, Jalen Hurts, Worthy, and DJ Moore. So I like what you did here. You got Henry, and then you got Pollard, Robinson. So all 3 starting running backs. You got London. I'm really high on London this year. I think he's going to get a lot of targets, and he's going to have some great weeks for sure. Jalen Hurts has been kind of a cheat code, I think, in underdog drafts for where he's going. Tush push. It's a cash game cheat code. I think Worthy to start the year is going to get a lot of volume, so I like that. I kind of went back and forth on the DJ Moore pick. I guess we'll see. Shakir, if he starts week 1, I love this pick. And honestly, with London, with Worthy, with DJ Moore, yeah, you probably don't need him to start week 1. As long as he plays within the first couple weeks, you survive past the first week, you'll probably be fine. I like Herbert. I think taking him in the 10th round is okay for just one quarterback in the 10th round. I would, you only did 2 quarterbacks, so I like that. I like Goddard. I think Goddard's been a guy that's been undervalued. Keenan Allen, I'm not sure what to think about Keenan Allen at this point. I don't have an opinion on this, so I'm not going to give one. Tootin, JSM, and Tucker. Let's see. Okay, so you got 3 starting running backs, and then you got kind of 3, I don't know, maybe. The only actual critique I have here is I would have probably taken like Jerome Ford, who we know is going to start the year, over Tootin if you were going to go with like 2 other flyers at running back. I would probably got to try to get a guy like a Jerome Ford or a Rico Dowdle later, who we know is going to be like the 1-2 punch in the offense. So they're going to have some spike weeks, as opposed to like Tucker, who, if Rashad White's healthy, like Tucker may not play at all. I like him more in like traditional best ball formats than I would, in the Eliminator. But overall, I like what you did at wide receiver. I like your quarterbacks. I like your 3 starting running backs. So, and I think you got good tight ends. So I think it's a pretty good Eliminator draft. And guys, that's going to wrap this one up. Fun stream. It was nice to get Matthew Betz on. Check his stuff out for sure. And for those of you, again, who aren't signed up with DFS Army, you can get $50 off for the entire year, 50% off for the first month. I'll put that in the video description. If you like this kind of content, hit that like button. Let us know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we do Best Ball and Brew every Tuesday. We'll be doing that till kickoff. And then, of course, we got Draftapalooza Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, sponsored by DraftKings. So make sure you check all that out as well, all those other shows. So that's going to wrap this one up, guys. I will see you on the next stream. Have a good one, everyone.